the months previous, even higher than they were. So we're adding jobs, and as Charles Payne would tell you, we're cooking with gas right now.
It definitely shows that trend that's been going on in terms of adding to the economy is continuing.
Yeah, you're right. So Charles coming up next hour, so we'll get the lowdown from Mr. Payne on all that.
The expert. Well, comedian Kathy Griffin is getting back into it with the Trump administration, go figure, coming to the defense of Samantha Bee. Griffin now taking swipes at White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders after Sanders not only denounced Bee's comments, but asked where was the apology from Griffin after her infamous self-portrait with a fake severed head supposed to resemble President Trump. Griffin going right after Sanders in this tweet. And she uses an expletive, begins that way. Do not come for me. I did not call you, and for expletive's sake, take a cold reading class. Maybe you won't stumble so much. So let's welcome in the former governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee. Thank you so much for joining us. So we have Kathy Griffin responding with a horrible expletive describing a woman to Samantha Bee, who used this vulgar expletive defining or explaining a woman.
You know, I think the best way to solve all this is that if people would only speak in public what they speak in private, maybe things would be better. And frankly, I think people ought to change their private language. Then their public language would be better. If people use vulgar and vile language privately, they tend to start using it publicly. So maybe everybody should just clean up what they say behind closed doors, and then when they get out on the stage or have a microphone in front of their face, they won't say things that require an apology, a firing, or the loss of sponsors. And that's what I find so remarkable about some of this.
Yeah, it really is remarkable. You know, we were discussing this earlier, and our guest said that she believes that it is a message from Hollywood showing that they just do not respect women, and it's okay to attack women.
I think that's a large part of it. They respect women if they agree with them wholeheartedly, if they are politically on the same side. But they really don't respect women. They respect leftists. So you can be a leftist and you'll get all the love in the world. But if you're not a leftist, then you're going to be given enormous levels of scorn and vulgarity and the most vile kind of language, regardless of your gender. So it does show that the people who claim to be champion of women, they're not. They're champion of the left. It's a political ideology. It's not a gender identity at all.
But at the same time, it is coming from both sides. You know, I was doing a little Google search and trying to look up things that had happened with the Obama administration, things that happened with the Clinton administration and their families being targeted, that type of thing. And it really just runs the gamut from both sides. And it's gotten even worse because of social media.
Yeah, I won't in any way defend when conservatives say ugly things about people on the other side. I think it's still disgusting. And I would go back to my point. Practice in private being respectful of other human beings. Be civil. Be kind. You can be funny without being vile and evil. But if you are vile and evil in private, and if you do have that kind of disgusting attitude toward other people, if you hold other people in contempt, if you think you're better than somebody because of your views, then you tend to go out and show that same side of yourself in public.
Right.
And I think that's the real problem.
I don't know when mean became funny, because we are definitely trending in that direction, that the meaner you are, the more coverage you get, like we're doing right now. And how did that become funny?
A lot of it is the loss of inhibitions that have been brought on by the anonymity of social media. People feel like that they can say things in social media because they're hiding behind maybe a handle, or they're hiding behind their keyboard. People would never say these things to a person's face, ever. They just wouldn't, even some mean people. Now, some would. They're just that hideously, I think, uncouth. But as my mother used to say, were you raised by wolves? and so I think some of these people may have been raised by wolves. A lot of this would be fixed by mothers and fathers who taught their kids respect for other human beings. And if they didn't, now I understand why millennials eat Tide Pods, because some of them and some others truly need their mouths washed out with some serious soap.
Yeah, I didn't understand that trend when it was going on, that's for sure. But maybe that explains it. So just on a personal note, when you're talking to Sarah off camera, you know, behind the scenes, maybe around the family dinner, how does she handle things like this? I mean, it gets so rough for her. You know, they talk about her appearance. They talk about her supporting President Trump. It just, how does she handle it privately?
Well, I mean, I don't think she enjoys it. But on the other hand, Sarah knows who she is. I believe that her faith, her connection to Christ is something that gives her a sense of grounding and centering. And she knows that her ultimate judge is not going to be some hideous comedian. Her ultimate judge is the God who created her, who knows her a whole lot better than Kathy Griffin or Samantha Bee or any of these people. And she's pretty content with the fact that when she's ultimately judged for her life, it won't be by some wannabe comedian and somebody trying to be funny. It's going to be by the creator of the universe. And she'll put her hands there, or put her life in those hands, and I think be far more comfortable with it.
Well, she's in a tough position, that is for sure. So I admire her. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
I see you, Governor. Breaking overnight now, the Israeli military bracing for a new round of protests along the Gaza border. It has been a Friday afternoon repeatedly going back months now where